Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's Grace Note. Today, I want to talk to those of you that don't feel happy or find that your capacity for joy is very limited. Ways you might recognize that is perhaps you fall into a low mood when everyone else around you seems to be really happy. Perhaps you find it difficult to celebrate or enjoy life. Perhaps when you go out and enjoy yourself, you end up feeling guilty and beat yourself up the next day for whatever you did or indulged in or experienced. You know, all of us have a deep capacity for joy. And there's only one thing that I have seen that takes it away from us, that takes away that feeling of happiness and peacefulness and contentment and general enjoyment of life. And that's self-concern. So let me share what I see about self-concern. Self-concern is when we get into looking at ourselves, when our thinking becomes evaluative and focuses on how we're doing, how we are measuring up, how we compare. It's really any sort of thinking that puts the focus on you and yourself and your image and your success, your body, your weight, your relationship. It can come in any form. Some of the clients I work with, you know, their form of self-concern is getting really, really concerned about how far ahead they are or how far behind they are. Others are self-concerned around how they look to the world. And in my own journey, that was the case too. You know, it's not that long ago that I recall I was just so concerned with how I appeared to the world. And I was so really living in evaluation of self that I wasn't very connected or present to the people around me. And I lived in what I can only describe as a state of self-consciousness. And that self-consciousness made it very difficult for me to relax into life. You know, I was always worried about, you know, getting things right. And I noticed in my own journey that when something went wrong, I immediately went to the question, why? Why did this happen? Why has this occurred? What have I done wrong? You know, as if the entire world revolved around Grace with a small g. Can you relate to that? Like, are you someone who is constantly focused on how you're doing or how you're appearing to the world or how you measure up? Because I know that for most of my clients, that is the case. I don't think that I was unique in that situation. I didn't know I was living life like that at the time. You know, I couldn't even smile in my photographs. I was so concerned about my crooked teeth, and I would never come on video like this. So my dogs just come to join us. You know, I was so lost in, you know, looking at self that life just was really lacking joy and difficult, and it was difficult. You know, I would say my capacity for joy was like that much. What really helped me and what I saw was that it was thought created. It was me living in the feeling of my thoughts. And when I began to really understand the principle of thought and how our thinking really doesn't mean what we think it means, we're the ones that attach the meaning, something in me woke up. Something in me fell away. I would say the false self began to crumble. And as a result of really seeing that my insecure thoughts were just thoughts, were passing through, but I was giving them a lot of meaning and a lot of attachment. As a result of seeing that, like, life began to get easier, and I began to be less interested in the narrative I was playing internally. And a new capacity for enjoyment opened up. My seriousness fell away. And over time, incrementally, I saw that I began smiling in my photographs. I began showing more of myself. I began showing up on video with my marketing, something I'd never do in the past. I began connecting with people more easily. And that capacity for enjoyment really skyrocketed. It really went to a new level. Because there's nothing more enjoyable than being in the moment and not being concerned about yourself. So to me nowadays, when I'm working with clients or I'm going about my day, I'm particularly interested in going beyond the self-concern that people or I may fall into at times. And the space beyond that self-concern is where our true nature resides, where our true essence lives. And when we touch that space, the feeling is so beautiful and so connected that the world can't help but notice. I truly believe that one of the reasons my business came into a lot of flow was from touching that space more often, rather than mastering more marketing or learning how to sell better, all the traditional things we're told we should do, all the prescribed techniques we're taught we need. I wasn't doing any of that, and yet something greater was unfolding that resulted in people showing up and beginning to travel to Italy to work with me. The old self-conscious concerned me, would have been too afraid and too insecure to really say, if you'd like to work together, you have to come to Italy. But this space that I had been touching more and more seemed to speak to people far and wide. And I think it spoke to people because they felt the truth of it and they knew it to be true because it's in them too. So not just talking about happiness and capacity for joy here, I'm talking about success that's available, ease, flow, effortless ways about doing things, all as a result of being so less concerned. And when people and clients ask me, well, how do I get there, Grace? How do I become less self-concerned? It seems to me that the point of change is in noticing, starting to notice when you're getting caught there. I know the way that I started to notice when I was living in self-concern and evaluation and seriousness was the feeling of tightness in my whole upper chest, very restricted, very tight, very uncomfortable. And any sort of grip on things have to happen this way. It has to happen a certain way. Seriousness, any sort of seriousness about myself was a great indicator that I was back in self-concern. So you can begin to notice for you, You know, what are the feelings that indicate when you're getting caught up in yourself, in insecurity, in concern? And rather than turn this into something else to beat yourself up with, because if you're in self-concern, I know you already beat yourself up tons, but rather than this becoming another thing to beat yourself up with, just be gentle. Just let the feeling inform you and don't give it too much meaning. Just notice, oh, there I go again. And incrementally, I promise you, things will change. Incrementally, you will show up differently in your life, in your business, in your career, in your relationships. You know, in my relationship, I would take things so personally. Again, another form of self-concern. Any argument I turned into meaning something about us or me. With that horrible question that comes with it, that sends everyone down a rabbit hole. Why? Why is this happening? What have I done? Why? So, you know, it just really helped me to go by the feeling I was in. And if the feeling wasn't one of easiness, gracefulness, joyfulness, simplicity, then I knew I was back in my self-concern. So I'd love to know what you're taking away from this week's Grace Note. Post me a comment below. I love hearing from you. Let me know, like, how does self-concern show up in your life? Do you notice it? Are you noticing it? And just go gently this week as you begin to wake up to that part of yourself that is your true nature, your true essence, that has a deep capacity for joy, for well-being, that is well-being, that is joy, that is happiness, that is peacefulness. And as you begin to touch that space more, and that becomes familiar, the world can't fail to notice. It's pretty contagious, and life just becomes easy and joyful. So I hope this has been helpful, and I'll be back with you soon with another Grace Note. Bye for now. Ciao.